In theory, everyone in the NBA knows just how much tougher things get in the playoffs. The pressure rises, rotations shrink, that room you had in the regular season to unleash your three ball, that's gone, and the opposing team's coaches have looked at so much film of you, they now know you better than your own mother. But it's one thing to be aware of all that and another to face it, and you can't really tell unless you're out there whether you're going to wilt under the spotlights or handle your business, or if you're one of the even more rare few who can actually raise their game when it's the absolute toughest out there. I think by this point we have a pretty good confirmation of which category Donovan Mitchell falls into. He was tremendous last year in the bubble, and now this postseason, well, it's easy to see why the Jazz haven't lost a game with him in the lineup. Even when he starts slow, like he did last night against the Clippers, it's hard not to feel like there's more coming. And that's not just my opinion, it is apparently Donovan's too. When Mitchell went into the locker room at halftime of last night's game, he was just 5 of 14 from the floor, and the Jazz overall were struggling. Playing without Mike Conley, they had stumbled into a first quarter double-digit deficit, courtesy of a stretch of 20 straight missed shots. Oh, and Mitchell was more than just off basketball-wise. He actually wasn't feeling well. He was lightheaded, a bit nauseous. And yet, when he walked into that locker room, he stood in front of his teammates and told them that what was happening was his fault. He promised he would do better in the second half. Then he went out and did the damn thing, scoring 32 of his 45 points in the final two frames. And I want to note that we saw two really cool instances of Mitchell taking advice during that stretch. First, an exchange with longtime confidant and now Jazz part owner Dwayne Wade. We'll get into that a little bit more later in the show when Dwayne stopped by for his visit. But there was also this conversation with Quinn Snyder.
You just keep getting your mind right, and it overcomes everything, just like you're doing. Okay? Let's go. Do it on D, it'll happen on O.
You know, when I talked to Jazz people during Donovan's rookie year, one of the main things I heard was how, unlike some young players who see asking for help as a weakness, Donovan tapped every resource he could find to get better, including constantly asking for extra film sessions with coaches or striking up mentoring relationships with longtime NBA vets. Those are exactly the kind of little building blocks over weeks and months and years, the conversations, the practices when no one is watching, that create a 24-year-old who can lead his team to a comeback win against a team led by a two-time Finals MVP. And because Donovan was mic'd up last night, we also got to hear some of his conversations with his teammates as the second half wore on, noting that the Clippers had just wrapped up a grueling 7-game series with Dallas, that they had less than 24 hours to adjust to the altitude, and that this game was Utah's for the taking.
They played Game 7 2 days ago. It's all how we start this quarter. They'll call it quits and get ready for Game 2 if we make them. Let's get ready for that. Shots fall, shots don't fall. Keep being the monster.
We ain't gonna get nothing the next 4. We ain't gonna get nothing the next 4. Stay locked in up here.
Some spice in there. The Jazz's push worked, feeding part and part off of a rough shooting outing from Paul George, who was serenaded with chants of playoff P through the night. But PG did hit a big three when it counted down the stretch in the fourth, which gave LA the chance to push the game to overtime in the final 15 seconds. That didn't happen. Instead, Rudy Gobert, who critics say can't defend away from the basket, defended away from the basket with flair, no less, blocking Marcus Morris from getting a good shot off. The win was huge for the Jazz, who are now up 1-0 on, yes, a tired Clippers team in a series where the schedule is to play every other day. There is a huge disparity also in what kind of crowd the two teams' local governments are allowing in their home arenas. Most of all, though, the Jazz's advantage is Donovan Mitchell, who is showing yet again that when things get tougher in the postseason, so does he. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.